What's up, guys? It's your boys Wokey back at it with another Chris Watts video, and this one I want to say is out of left ballpark, but it could be a possibility because Nichol Kessinger was calling a sober living center for an addiction, which we don't know what she was addicted to. Could be sex, could be alcohol, could be the D word, the D-R-U-G, not the D-I-C-K. But we're going to look into this from a channel called Deep Shadows Crime Stories. Again, I am reacting. I'm not spreading the rumors again for those haters that are out there. I'm watching, reacting, commentating, and putting my 2 cents in there, which you were allowed to do as well. So before we go any further, if you guys could do me a solid favor and subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting that whiteboard icon down at the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it so when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I've posted that video, and then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, I thank you so much for the love and support. We just hit 71K. We're trying to get to 100K, so tell your friends and your family or anybody you guys know. And then, like I said before, show that same support over at Deep Shadows Crime Stories. If you don't want to watch with me, I highly understand. Some people can't watch with somebody blapping their little mouth around like I've been told. So, link is in the description. Go over to their channel. Watch if you don't want to watch with me. But for those that would like to watch with me, let's get into this video and see if there's any information about Nichol Kessinger being addicted to something rather than the DICK. So, let's take a look.
Some swore she slipped Chris something to cloud his mind.
That is true. Chris did drink because he said he had a beer with salmon. So who knows? Also, the drink, the tea that she made could have been highly something. So
others claimed she was the silent hand behind a family's destruction. The headlines painted her as a villain. Social media branded her a monster. But how much of that was fact? And how much was rumor? For years, her name has lingered in the shadows of this crime.
I kind of think it was a little bit of both, but the woman doesn't have a very good past.
Whispers turned into accusations. Stories spread faster than truth could catch up. Was she a hidden manipulator, or simply a woman who made a devastating choice in who she trusted?
All the above.
The world thought it knew the story. But what if everything you've been told was shaped not by evidence, but by lies? Stay with us, because in this video, we separate rumor from reality and expose the questions that still surround Nichol Kessinger's name. You're watching Deep Shadows Crime Stories.
I'm honestly going to say that right now, I've never heard about a addiction. I can't say the word online, but I'm wondering if she possibly had some other kind of addiction, because you can have other types of addiction. You can have a sex addiction. You could have a spending addiction. You can have a coffee addiction that could hurt you. You could have, there's been people that are addicted to, I saw one time somebody was addicted to drinking gasoline. There was somebody addicted to eating bath or laundry soap. They would like put their hand there. There's one person that actually, my dad said, that would lick her fingers and then dab it in her late husband's ashes, and she was addicted to doing that. There's a whole bunch of addictions. So who knows what Nicole was into and what she was spinning with Chris Watts.
Where the darkest secrets come to light and every detail matters.
Who knows?
Let's step into the shadows.
Let's
in
do
1988, in the state of Colorado, Nichol Kessinger was born. She was the kind of child family members often remembered with fondness, a daughter who brought joy, curiosity, and a bright future ahead. Public records never dwelled on her parents or siblings. Those who knew Nichol understood she was raised with encouragement to value education, independence, and hard work. She was a product of a family and community that believed in ordinary values: study, responsibility, and building a stable life. For years, Nichol was not a name tied to headlines or scandal. She was simply another Colorado native navigating the world step by step. As she grew older, her path leaned towards science. She enrolled at Colorado State University, where she pursued geology and earth sciences before moving into environmental science.
Study of
Former
rocks.
classmates described her as sharp, focused, and ambitious, a young woman who paid attention to details others missed. She had an interest in the natural world, in structure and order, and she chose a career where those skills could matter. In her studies, she showed the persistence of someone willing to work hard for every opportunity. There was no spotlight, no fame, just a steady march toward a profession that demanded responsibility. She graduated in 2013 from Colorado State University with a Bachelor of Science in Geology, credentials that prepared her for environmental and safety roles, a field both technical and demanding. By her late 20s, Nicole was like many young professionals in Colorado. She had friends, a fitness routine, and a personal life that revolved around simple pleasures: coffee shops, hikes in the Rockies, dinners out, and phone calls with those close to her. Investigators later confirmed she had dated before, but nothing about her past relationships suggested drama or public scandal. They were private.
She did mess with some married men before. We've seen that. Stabbing.
Ordinary, the kind of experiences many people move through while searching for stability and connection. She enjoyed fitness and health, often talking about diet and workout goals, and she surrounded herself with the normal patterns of suburban life. Those who saw her then would never have imagined that she would later be cast in one of the most polarizing roles in a crime story that shook the nation. Her career path took her into environmental safety. By 2018, she was working as a contract employee for Tasman Geosciences, assigned to Anadarko Petroleum. Her job required precision, ensuring compliance with safety regulations, reviewing reports, and monitoring field activity. Co-workers recalled her as focused and committed. One described her to reporters as someone who kept her head down and did her work. She wasn't the type to linger in office politics or draw unnecessary attention. She lived close to her family, stayed active, and valued her independence. Her life was built on a balance between professional ambition and a personal pursuit of health and friendship. And then, at Anadarko, she crossed paths with Chris Watts. Nicole later told investigators in her August 16, 2018 interview with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, "I met Chris at work and we started talking. He seemed like a good guy, soft-spoken. He told me he was going through a separation." Those words would later be dissected endlessly, but at the time, they were nothing more than an explanation of how a connection began. She said he made it sound mutual, as though his marriage was already over. Investigators pressed her, and she repeated, "He made it clear it was ending. He told me it was done."
But then her Google searches kind of never validated that, because you could see the baby on there. You could see that Shanann was talking about him being a great father and a great husband and so forth like that. So when she sits there and says that she didn't know about it and that her Google searches show otherwise, it's a little hard to believe you there, Miss Nicole.
In Nicole's eyes, she was not pursuing a married man. She believed she was talking to someone who was closing a chapter of his life.
That still doesn't make it right.
Their early conversations were typical of new acquaintances: fitness routines, Colorado life, personal ambitions. Nicole admitted in her interview,
"I could say that I'm handsome. That doesn't mean it's true."
he talked about his girls, and he always seemed calm about it. I thought he knew what he was doing. By late June 2018, they had exchanged phone numbers. Texts followed, the kind that marked the beginning of something casual. Questions about plans, discussions about diet, everyday chatter that seemed harmless. It was the summer, the days long and warm, and Nicole believed she was starting a relationship with a man free to pursue her. She later told police she questioned Chris about the marriage more than once. "I asked him straight up if he was still with her, and he was moving on." It was enough reassurance for her to continue seeing him. Their dates were quiet, nothing unusual. In her mind, she was beginning something normal.
Booty.
To her friends, it was just another relationship in its early stages. Nothing dramatic or destructive. But history would twist those simple beginnings into something far heavier. Nichol Kessinger, the professional woman with a private life, would soon find her name inserted into a crime story of unimaginable scale. For her, these were still days of ordinary choices: working, texting, dating. She could not have foreseen the tidal wave of accusations that lay just ahead. What began as two adults meeting in the quiet corridors of a workplace in the summer of 2018 would soon transform into a firestorm of whispers. On the morning of August 13, 2018, Frederick, Colorado woke up to a case that would soon dominate the country. Shanann Watts, 34 years old and 15 weeks pregnant, was reported missing along with her two little girls, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste. That same day, body cameras captured officers stepping into the Watts home, noticing Shanann's purse, phone, and car still there, signs she hadn't simply walked away. Chris Watts stood quietly, his demeanor tense, a detail that wouldn't go unnoticed. For the next 2 days, the search was frantic. Neighbors, friends, and officers poured into the story.
He had
until
it
Chris
all.
stood before the cameras pleading for the safe return of his wife and daughters. "If somebody has her, just bring her back," he said on August 14th. His calm delivery puzzled viewers, but the public had not yet seen what investigators were beginning to suspect. By August 15th, Chris confessed to killing Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, and in a matter of hours, Nichol Kessinger's name
Because of a plea deal, I might add.
Name entered the picture as the woman he had been seeing in the weeks leading up to the murders. When news broke that Chris Watts had a mistress, the public began searching for her identity. Within days, blogs and forums uncovered her name. On August 16, 2018, Nichol Kessinger voluntarily sat down with agents from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, offering her account of her relationship with Chris Watts and the suspicions that had driven her to come forward. In that interview, she said, "I would never do anything to hurt those kids. It's not okay. It's not okay." She explained how she met Chris at ADDICT, how he told her he was separating from his wife, and how she believed she was starting a relationship with a man free to date.
So why didn't they, I've always thought that too, why didn't they lie detector her to see if she was telling the truth? I know that not everybody gets tested for lie detector or lie detection, but in this case, it would have been somewhat of a good baseline to figure out, yeah, she is telling the truth. So stop looking at her kind of thing. But we don't even have that.
But the world outside the interview room didn't see her as a woman misled. The moment her name leaked, speculation flared. Online users
The news people found out about her so fast.
didn't want explanations. They wanted someone to blame. The rumor mill exploded almost overnight. Reddit threads filled with posts.
And it's not that I want to blame her. I want her to be held accountable for anything that she might have been involved in. That's the thing, is we can blame it on Chris, where he's right where he should be. But again, we feel that there is somebody involved because of the evidence that we've seen, that we've, over the, 7 years now, that a lot of YouTubers, including myself, have seen, found, and looked over. And we want to see if she should be held accountable with Chris.
Accusing Nichol of knowing more than she admitted. On YouTube, creators uploaded theories within hours, with some videos reaching hundreds of thousands of views in just days. Blogs called her the other woman and accused her of being the hidden force behind Chris's behavior.
She wanted to be the woman. She didn't want to be the other woman.
Comment sections began repeating a single narrative. Nichol wasn't just a mistress. She must have been complicit. Allegations went further. People claimed she supplied
They're actually making t-shirts. Not me. I haven't made any t-shirts about this, but there are people that make t-shirts that show this.
Drugs, that she gave Chris substances to make him act irrationally. None of this came from evidence, but in the chaos of online speculation, it didn't matter. The audience was larger than ever, and every claim fed into a story too compelling for some to resist. Nichol herself, in her CBI interview, described how quickly she realized the walls were closing in. "I just wanted to help with the investigation. That's why I called you guys," she told detectives. "I didn't want to be involved in this at all." Yet despite her cooperation, narratives outside the official record took a life of their own. The accusations that she was a drug addict or that she had influenced Chris chemically became louder.
I don't think she was... I've never heard about the drug or the addiction, but I've heard, I wouldn't say chemicals, but mysterical type stuff. Again, I can't say I believe in that stuff because I don't know if it's real or not. But it's just to put it out there that there are some remedies and herbs and stuff like that can cause hallucinations, cause things. I mean, we have medications all the time that take away our pain, that take away muscle pain and relax our muscles and dilate our eyes, and like there's tons of stuff. I wouldn't say chemicals, but I would say medications or remedies kind of thing.
Some posts even claimed she had given him oxycodone before the murders. The tabloids picked...
We still don't know who or how he got the oxycodone. I think, what was it? There's people that believe that it's Nicole. There's people that believe it's Chris's sister. There's people that believe it was a friend of Chris's. Like, I don't know. But it's just ironically funny that Nichol Kessinger did Google oxycodone and so forth like that. Chris did as well. So it's very interesting about that.
Up the story in 2021, running headlines about Chris's shocking confession without emphasizing the lack of forensic backing. For the casual reader, Those stories confirmed what online whispers had already suggested. Nicole, by then out of public view, had no chance to defend herself. The accusation that she was linked to drugs, that she somehow fueled the tragedy, spread faster than any correction could. The rumor had taken on a life of its own, one repeated so often that many believed it without ever questioning where it began. It was speculation with no proof, but it was enough to plant a label that would stick. The moment Nichol Kessinger's name appeared in connection with the Watts murders, the public judgment was swift and merciless.
And I like to advise people that are hating on myself. There's been people talking about this way back in the beginning. I didn't come up with it. Others came up with it. I'm just revisiting.
Hours of news outlets confirming she had been seeing Chris Watts. Online comment sections lit up with rage. Facebook threads filled with accusations branding her a drug addict, a homewrecker,
I haven't heard that part.
On Reddit, strangers dissected her appearance, her work history, even her voice in police interviews, as if every detail proved she had something to hide. Creators capitalized on the speculation, their titles screaming accusations, while thousands of commenters echoed a single belief. Nicole was guilty of more than anyone was saying. For many, it no longer mattered that she had voluntarily spoken with investigators.
She's guilty of something.
To the digital crowd, she was already on trial, convicted by speculation, and sentenced in the court of public opinion. The onslaught of suspicion grew as people scoured the...
But isn't that what you're supposed to do? Is you're judged between or from your peers? So the people that are her peers are saying that she's guilty. I'm pretty sure it's like a 9-to-1. 9 people think she's guilty. 1 person thinks she's innocent.
Internet for her photographs, creating memes and videos that blurred the line between fact and imagination. Images of Nicole walking alone were twisted into narratives of shame and guilt, while anonymous accounts claimed she had been spotted buying drugs or sneaking around town. None of those claims were ever substantiated, but the accusations spread with the force of wildfire. People wanted someone to carry the blame alongside Chris, and Nicole became the easiest target. A former co-worker of hers later told a journalist off record,
"I want accountability."
She was just a normal person at work. She didn't stand out for anything unusual. That truth, however, was drowned out by louder voices online who refused to accept that she was anything less than complicit. Nicole's name was no longer her own. It was a symbol. She became the temptress, the archetype of the mistress blamed for luring a man into destruction. True crime culture has long painted such figures in exaggerated tones, and Nicole fit the narrative too neatly for many to resist. In the eyes of millions, she was not a young professional who had been deceived. She was cast as the reason for a family's death, a role amplified by repetition until it seemed real. This transformation from a private individual into a cultural symbol was as damaging as it was unstoppable. She had entered history not for who she truly was, but for the label strangers chose to attach to her. In the eyes of millions, she wasn't Nicole anymore. She was a villain, a role cast by rumor. When the autopsy reports were released in late 2018, the world finally had a medical record of what happened to Shanann Watts.
But why was the girl's autopsy reports, like the detailed parts, sealed for 50 years? Just hers, or just theirs, just the little girls. Why?
And her daughters. The reports confirmed what investigators had suspected from the start. Shanann's cause of death was manual strangulation, while Bella and Celeste had been smothered. Toxicology results were examined closely, with the public eager for anything that could explain how a father could commit such crimes. Shanann's results showed a blood alcohol concentration of 0.128%, but prosecutors quickly clarified this was not because she had consumed alcohol that night. District Attorney Michael Rourke said in court, "That is a result of decomposition. That is not alcohol she ingested."
And I have been told by forensic pathologists and people that work in the field of being morticians and people that take care of cadavers for like studying purposes and so forth, that Shanann's alcohol levels were because of decomp. I don't know why they keep saying, "Oh, she had a glass of wine." She didn't drink nothing.
The statement was direct, factual, and left no room for speculation about alcohol. Yet, within online forums, a different story began to spread. Users began asking, what if something else had been in her system, something investigators had missed? No credible toxicology finding has ever indicated that opioids, oxycodone, or any illegal drugs were present in Shanann's body.
But there are things that would not be caught in an autopsy which I did some investigations. There are chemicals that can be put in bodies that make people pass out, and they're untraceable. That's scary.
No evidence tied Nichol Kessinger to supplying or using drugs with Chris. During her August 16, 2018 interview, Nicole told investigators, "I never knew him to take drugs. He was into working out and eating right." She repeated that Chris often talked about health, fitness, and energy. The investigators pressed her about whether Chris ever appeared under the influence of substances. She answered clearly, "No. He was always very coherent, always very aware."
But what about you, Miss Nicole?
Official statements stand today, unchallenged by any evidence. Still, that did not stop conspiracy theories from blossoming. Part of the confusion came from Chris's own association with Thrive, the wellness brand Shanann promoted with passion. He wore Thrive patches, drank the shakes, and took the supplements, all marketed as energy boosters and appetite suppressants. While some speculated whether these products played a role in his behavior, investigators never found evidence linking Thrive to the murders. In his conversations with investigators, Chris admitted he had been wearing 2 Thrive patches at once, claiming they kept him from sleeping. Those remarks, while never tied to the murders by prosecutors, quickly became ammunition for speculation, feeding a narrative that something in his system might explain the inexplicable. Online voices claimed the patches were drugs, or that they mimicked the effects of opioids. Others suggested that Nicole had supplied him with substances disguised as supplements. None of this was true.
But what if they were on the Mary Jane? The, what do they call it? I don't know all the names that they have for this, the devil's lettuce. Who knows if they did that? That could cause hallucinations. That could cause paranoia, anxiety, if you have too much, kind of thing. My buddies, they do it. And some of them are like, "Yeah, what's up, man? Like, I'm totally cool." And then some are like, "I can hear my veins in the walls." Like, what? Or I can hear colors.
Thrive was a multi-level marketing product, not an illicit drug. But the nuance was lost in the frenzy. On message boards, one user posted, "If he was wearing those patches, maybe she gave him something else through them." That idea, though baseless, spread quickly across forums and social media platforms. The truth was...
But he did say that he received a drink from her. She didn't have one, but he was given it, and he drank it. I can't remember if he said it was like a brownie orange, that I can't remember which interview it was. I should have highlighted it, but it was like he thought it was dirty water, is what he said.
Less dramatic, but far more sobering. Chris Watts' crimes were not the result of drugs or intoxication. They were acts of violence, deliberate and cruel. The official files, from autopsy reports to FBI notes, make no mention of any substance altering his mind or driving his actions. Still, the story of an affair and a brutal murder seemed incomplete for the public. People wanted a reason, an external factor to blame, and drugs became the easy explanation. It was simpler for many to believe that Nicole had handed him pills or patches than to face the real truth, that Chris alone made the choice to end his family's lives. The DA's corrections and medical explanations were reported, but those words never spread as fast as the rumors. The clash between fact and speculation left Nicole branded with an accusation she could never shake. For every official line clearing her, there were 10 online voices insisting she was involved. Truth does not always move.
I really can't tell if this channel is for Nichol Kessinger being innocent or for her being guilty. I understand where he's coming from, with you don't want to spread lies and rumors, but when there is things that we find, you definitely want to talk about it, but you don't want to spread lies and conspiracies, because we can't say that they're facts because they're conspiracies. But it's like the feeling you have, that gut feeling. I have it with this. I don't know how to put my finger on it, but I just have a feeling in some shape or form Nicole was involved. I've literally looked through everything. I've asked for people to contact me if they're friends with her. I'm still on the search for it.
As fast as gossip. And once the rumor of oxycodone and drug patches entered the narrative, it became a permanent stain. The facts were steady, the record unshaken, but they were drowned beneath the roar of a public unwilling to let go of scandal. And so, a haunting question lingers even today. When the noise is louder than the truth, what chance does a reputation have? Why do people cling to lies even when the truth is in plain sight? Psychologists who study rumors say it comes down to fear, scapegoating, and the hunger for a narrative that feels complete. In a tragedy as shocking as the Watts murders, the human mind struggles to accept that one man, without outside influence, could annihilate his own family. Dr. Nicholas DeFonso, an expert on rumor psychology, once explained, rumors often flourish where there's anxiety and a lack of clear information. They fill in the gaps. That is exactly what happened in August 2018. With Chris Watts behind bars and Nichol Kessinger revealed as his mistress, the public demanded more than...
I could see that being valid of that statement if there wasn't a lot of red flags being present. If like the ping was not there, or her deleting messages, or her giving up her phone and not saying, well, why do you even need my phone? Or like asking questions about Chris and the trial. If she didn't do those, we wouldn't be looking at Nicole. We'd be like, yep, they got their man. It's done. It's over with. It's time to move on. But the thing about Nicole is she did those things. The red flags outweigh the possible truth narrative. If that makes sense. That she wasn't involved.
And just one villain. People wanted an explanation that cushioned the horror. If Chris was under the influence, if a woman had manipulated him through drugs, then the crime, in their minds, made a twisted kind of sense. The label drug addict...
I think they did do a urinalysis on Chris, but it's probably looking for like the regular drugs, like the devil's lettuce, the white powder, the snow tread, as they call it. All those other bad, like they're all bad, but it's just the ones that could keep you up for days. Like he said, he's not sleeping. He's adding patches. I mean, the man could be on a whole nother binge of a walking pharmacy.
Attached itself to Nichol quickly, and once it stuck, it became nearly impossible to remove. Rumors have a way of shrinking a person into a single word. For Nichol, her identity was stripped down to 3 syllables, repeated endlessly in comment sections and online forums. She must be a drug addict. Look at her eyes, one user wrote on Reddit in 2018, attaching a blurred photo of her from the discovery files. Another commented, "You don't get a guy to kill his family without drugs."
I don't think it's the D word. I think it's an addiction of something. Love, lust, power, money. People can be addicted to money. People can be addicted to rumors, conspiracies.
Were not statements grounded in fact. They were projections, built on fear and outrage. Nichol's interviews with investigators show no evidence of substance abuse. In her own words to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation on August 16th,
they didn't drug test her. If they would have told us.
She said, "I don't use drugs. I never have. I don't hang out with people who do that." But in the echo chamber...
But she was in that one room or that apartment building behind the sliding glass door telling everybody don't answer the door, or she was telling everybody don't answer the door. There was Mary Jane, the devil's lettuce there. The whole room was lit up and smoky like the forest of the Twilight movies. I mean, and she wants to sit there and, oh, I don't do that. She might not do it anymore. But again, who knows?
Of the internet, that denial was drowned out. Once the label was applied, people saw only what confirmed their suspicions. The pathway of those whispers into mainstream headlines followed a familiar pattern in the digital age. A Reddit thread accusing Nichol of supplying oxycodone spread to a handful of blogs dedicated to dissecting the case. Nichol Kessinger never testified in court. She was never charged with a crime, and she was not accused of supplying drugs by law enforcement. The official record clears her, yet the cultural record condemns her. That is the danger of rumor psychology. It is not about what can be proven, but about what people want to believe. Fear needs a scapegoat, and once chosen, that scapegoat carries the weight of imagination. In the words of social psychologist Gordon Allport, who studied rumor during World War II, rumors thrive where importance is high and facts are scarce. The Watts murders were the most important story in Colorado that year, and the facts about Nichol were scarce. Into that void poured a narrative that still shadows her life. And as the story moved from whispers to headlines, from speculation to search engine results, one question became impossible to ignore. If a rumor can outgrow the truth so quickly, what chance does any accused person have of escaping its grip?
But you can prove that innocence, or you can disprove, or you can prove the guiltiness, and we haven't gotten anything. They just tell us to move on.
When the Watts case broke wide open in August 2018, the world should have been focused on one man, Chris Watts, the father who confessed to killing his pregnant wife and daughters. But within
Not
days,
right away.
attention shifted towards someone who had not committed a crime at all. Nichol Kessinger became the lightning rod. Her name appeared on blogs and in endless comment sections. It was as if the public decided one killer wasn't enough. They wanted someone else to blame, and Nichol was the easiest target. Imagine for a moment if it had been your name leaked. Imagine logging online and seeing strangers accuse you of poisoning someone you had.
I'm accused of being obsessed with Shanann. How do I prove it? I talk about it. That I'm not. I've been told that I'm telling people to write the Watts family when I'm not, and I've told my viewers and my viewership and my whoever's watching to take my computer, take my phone. I have no problems with giving my information up, and I have nothing to hide. But this woman, no, you can't take my phone. Why do you even need it? No, don't go after Jim. Leave him alone. Oh, Charlotte, she wasn't involved. But when are you going to call her? Because I'm going to let her know. Like, I didn't... Do you see the division here?
Never met, of being addicted to drugs you had never touched. That was the reality Nichol faced. The amplification cycle was brutal. Court TV panelists openly debated whether Nichol was hiding more than she admitted, giving a national stage to suspicions with no evidence. Some tied her name to oxycodone, a potent prescription opioid, infamous for its addictive grip, its role in the American overdose crisis, and its black market trade. It's not a drug easily obtained without records, yet rumors spread as though Nichol could have simply handed it over in secret. But the official files showed otherwise. There were no receipts, no prescriptions in her name, no evidence she ever had access.
But she could have gotten it years down the line. If she had wisdom teeth pulled, she could have got that. If she had any other surgeries, she could have got it. She could have got it from some of her friends that are in the possible pharmacy occupation. I mean, I don't think they actually looked into that part. And I've never said that Nichol Kessinger was a addict, because I never heard about it until now. That's why I'm watching this, because the title reads, Nichol Kessinger, was she a blank addict or a target of rumors? I want to hear, that's why we're watching it.
As to it. The only mention of oxycodone came from Chris himself in prison letters where he suggested Shanann had been slipped the drug. Toxicology reports did not confirm that claim. Still, tabloids ran the story as if it were fact, and each repetition pushed attention further away from Chris, the man who admitted to the murders, and onto Nichol, a woman never charged with anything at all. For strangers scrolling on their phones, the narrative was simple. Chris was guilty, but Nichol was dirty too. The cost of that narrative was devastating. Nichol's reputation collapsed almost overnight. Co-workers who once saw her as professional now saw her name trending alongside words like killer and drug addict. She sought anonymity, reportedly disappearing from public life, cutting ties, and attempting to erase her digital footprint.
All she did was close a door. She's not hiding. It's not like she dug a hole and she's living in it. She just literally closed the door, and that was about it. And pretty much kept her friend circle small. So...
Imagine showing up to work and realizing your colleagues had read threads calling you a murderer's accomplice. Imagine walking into a grocery store and fearing
they didn't, because she was fired before she could even go back to work.
Every stranger's glance might carry judgment. That was the new world Nichol lived in after August 2018. The weight was not just professional, it was psychological. Being branded carries an invisible toll. Fear of leaving the house, anxiety about every phone call, mistrust of even old friends who might secretly doubt your innocence. In the age of the internet, a label follows you everywhere. For Nichol, drug addict became shorthand, repeated so often that it overrode her actual identity. She was no longer a geologist, a daughter, or a young woman with ambitions. She was reduced to a rumor. In one interview, when asked what she wanted people to know, she said quietly, "I just want this to be over. I want to move on with my life." But moving on was not an option when her name...
But they always say, be careful what you do in life, because it could have repercussions that are hugely negative on your life. I bet there's people out there that don't think that they're going to get in a car accident, but they drive and they drop something and they go down to pick it up, get back up and they slam into somebody on the road. They didn't purposely go out there and do it. It was an accident. It was whatever have you. Maybe this is the case. Maybe Nichol Kessinger was there by accident or whatever have you. But you need to make sure that your choices don't inflict negative repercussions, if that makes sense.
Had been etched into a digital narrative that would not fade. This rush to judgment says as much about us as it does about Nichol. In tragedies that shock the conscience, society often searches for a second villain. One killer feels too simple, too stark, too frightening. People want to believe someone else whispered in his ear, handed him a pill, or nudged him toward evil. By casting Nichol as the temptress, the addict, the accomplice, the public gave themselves a story that felt easier to digest. It was scapegoating at a national level. As one psychologist explained, we create villains to manage our fear. If evil comes from them, then it can't come from us. And so Nichol became less than human. Online, she was content. Blurred images, manipulated videos, and endless threads designed to keep outrage alive. The truth of the official files, that she was never charged, never connected to drugs, and fully cooperated, was drowned out by clicks and views. Strangers who had never met her decided who she was and sold that version to millions. The story of Chris Watts had one killer, but people wanted a second to blame. For strangers online, she wasn't Nichol anymore. She was content. What happened to Nichol Kessinger was not new. The machine of rumor and judgment had already claimed others long before her. Think back to 2007, when Amanda Knox was arrested in Italy after the murder of her roommate Meredith Kircher. Before a trial could even unfold, tabloids branded her Foxy Knoxy, painting her as a dangerous femme fatale. Prosecutors later admitted the nickname fueled the frenzy, but the damage was done. Amanda Knox would later say in an interview, "People didn't see me as a person. They saw a character." Across the ocean, Casey Anthony's 2011 trial for
Tony, can we start with this woman?
the death of her daughter created another storm. While she was acquitted of murder, the internet decided her fate long before the verdict. Comment sections filled with hatred, memes portrayed her as a monster, and public opinion became so fixed that her name is still synonymous with guilt for many, no matter the legal outcome. In each case, rumor and judgment outpaced fact, leaving the accused permanently altered in the eyes of the public. Nichol's situation fell into the same pattern. Once her name was out, the narrative was built by online voices and amplified by mainstream media. Rumors became headlines, headlines became talking points, and talking points became truth for millions of viewers. Court TV and cable news debated theories of drug use even though investigators had already ruled it out. Tabloids lifted speculation from prison letters and printed it as if it were fact. Social media posts were treated like evidence, their captions recycled by blogs and shared across platforms. In that cycle, there was no pause to separate fact from fiction. Journalists repeated what audiences were already whispering because it generated views. For Nichol, there was no escape route. Her truth was buried beneath the louder story that the public wanted to believe. And that raises an uncomfortable question. What are the ethics of public judgment?
But being on a social platform, your intent is to connect, communicate, and to reach as many people as you can. It's like people when they talk about the Lord, they want to get the word out to as many people and spread the gospel. Pepsi wanting to sell their Pepsi product, their ads, their collaborations, their sponsorships, gets them out to anybody that they can possibly get. What do you think else people do with this crime stuff? They want to spread it out to as many people they can to get the word out there. So hopefully people to get band together to find out the truth.
Should anyone be allowed to brand another person forever, based on rumor alone? Once the label drug addict stuck to Nichol, it followed her everywhere. It did not matter that the official record cleared her, that toxicology showed no proof, that investigators confirmed her cooperation. Online, she was trapped inside the role strangers assigned her, and the internet never forgets. A psychologist once explained, once a narrative is fixed in collective memory, even disproving it doesn't erase it. That is the tragedy Nichol shares with others like Amanda Knox and Casey Anthony, a permanent digital scar, formed not by what they did, but by what people said they did. And so we must ask ourselves, what does that say about us? If we can condemn someone without evidence, if we can strip away their humanity with a few words typed in anger.
But there's a lot of stuff that's against Nicole, and it just wasn't seen in front of crime or criminologists, criminal people.
Then the line between truth and rumor ceases to exist. The story of Nichol Kessinger forces us to confront that reality.
And then a lot of the stuff that they gathered in the discovery was redacted?
Because if it happened to her, could it happen to anyone? When Chris Watts was sentenced to life without parole,
That's why you don't become a mistress. That's why you don't have adultery. That's why you don't cheat. That's why you don't sneak around behind your person's back.
on November 19th,
Because what is it? All the time it ends in disaster. I've never heard of a fair turning out good. Like
2018, the case seemed finished in the eyes of the public. But for Nichol Kessinger, the aftermath had only begun. She slipped out of view, leaving behind her job as a contract safety worker tied to Anadarko Petroleum and distancing herself from anyone who might connect her to the crime. Discovery documents later revealed that she told investigators she feared for her safety, admitting, "I don't want people coming after me."
no one's going to come after you, Nicole. Nobody wants to touch you.
By early 2019, she had reportedly considered changing her name, and years later, state records confirmed she entered Colorado's address
No, it didn't. I have information that says otherwise.
confidentiality program, a legal measure designed to protect individuals from stalking and harassment. It was an extraordinary step, but one she believed necessary to survive the glare of national attention. Even though District Attorney Michael Rourke publicly confirmed she had been fully cooperative, handed over her phone, and was not facing charges,
And hampered the investigation by what she had brought forward and talked about.
those assurances never reached the same audience that consumed the rumors. The official record made it clear that Nichol was not a suspect, yet the public clung to its own version of events. Tabloids continued to speculate about her whereabouts. Some claimed she had been placed into witness protection, though there was never evidence to support that.
Protected
A
witness.
coworker told a journalist in late 2019, she wasn't the same after her name came out. She was terrified of being recognized. What was once a steady professional career in environmental safety had collapsed in an instant. By 2020, Nichol had effectively disappeared from public life. Her digital footprint thinned, and she avoided any public appearances. Still, she remained an obsession for online communities. Reddit boards dedicated to the case debated daily whether she had known more than she told police. YouTube creators uploaded new theories with titles recycling old claims. "Where is Nichol Kessinger now?" Or, "The mistress still hiding the truth?" Comment sections remained brutal, branding her with words that no amount of evidence could erase. Even as the world turned its attention to new crimes and scandals, Nichol's name was revived whenever the Watts case was mentioned. She had become, in the eyes of strangers, a permanent fixture of the narrative. The years rolled on, but the questions never stopped. In 2021,
And people are just finding out about this case today. Somebody commented in my one of my videos and was like, "I never knew about this case. I just got into crime and I love your videos, but there are people that hate my videos." I understand that. I can't tend to everybody. But somebody came forward and actually stated, "I've never heard about this case. I'm glad I came over to your channel to learn about it." Now, I'm not going to say that I'm 100% right. I'm not 100 or perfect. So it's just, I'm bringing the information in front of you guys. You tell me what you feel, like I tell you how I feel, and then we go about our merry way.
when Sharon Cadle's book circulated Chris's alleged prison letters, the rumor of oxycodone resurfaced.
People are saying that Sherilyn Cato's book is a complete lie. Some people completely believe it. It's like he said, she said stuff. You're always going to have that division. It's never going to be completely one-sided.
Although prosecutors emphasized that Shanann's toxicology showed no opioids and no evidence of poisoning, the book gave conspiracy theorists something to hold on to. Once again, the focus shifted from Chris, the confessed killer, to Nichol, the woman who had never even met Shanann. It was a pattern that repeated itself every anniversary of the crime. The internet relived the case, recycling the same speculation, dragging Nichol back into the storm she had been trying to escape. By 2025, the rumors had not faded. News outlets in Australia and the US ran pieces speculating about her life under a new identity, reporting she had been seen attending a funeral service, though the sighting was never verified. TikTok
I verified it.
and YouTube channels used blurred clips to suggest she was living quietly in Colorado under another name. Reddit threads flared up in January 2025 when one user posted, "Nichol Kessinger 2025, where is she now?" Hundreds of comments followed, some insisting she was still hiding, others convinced she had been spotted in another state. The speculation was endless, even though the facts remained the same. She was not charged, she cooperated, and
And all these rumors were present before I even came in.
investigators never linked her to drugs or the murders. Yet the myth lived on because it was easier for some to accept than the truth. The toll was immeasurable. For Nicole, daily life became defined by absence. absence from her career, from her community, from the simple act of walking into a store without fear of being recognized. To live meant hiding, and to hide meant surrendering pieces of who she once was. The internet never forgot the labels, and every time her name surfaced, the cycle repeated. She could not control the narrative, because the narrative no longer belonged to her. It belonged to strangers who saw her as a character in a story.
Well, it might have stayed in the beginning, her narrative, but after Chris got caught, it kind of caught like wildfire. And she couldn't
as a human being who's
take it back.
Torn apart. This story is as much about us as it is about her. Why do we look for someone else to blame when the killer confessed and the evidence was clear? Why was the attention that should have stayed on Chris Watts shifted to the woman who was deceived by him? A psychologist.
Because there was evidence that showed that she possibly was there, but we can't get a confirmation about it.
Reflecting on the case once noted, we look for extra villains because it comforts us. It makes the world seem more ordered when evil has company. And so Nicole carried that role, unwanted and unearned, because it made the tragedy feel more explainable to the public. 7 years have passed, and the myth still overshadows the reality. Every new blog, every resurfaced video, every whispered comment keeps her trapped inside the story she never chose.
Quiet.
She tried to disappear, but the internet made sure she never could. And perhaps that is the most chilling truth of all. For some, the myth is more powerful than the truth. The case of Chris Watts will always be remembered as one of the most shocking family tragedies in.
And unfortunately, with this case, if one content creator leaves, two more take its place. It's like Hydra. You take off one head, two more take its place. It's never going to be quiet until you can validate that this woman is innocent or guilty. Until that time, it's going to continue to spread.
Modern American history. But in its shadow, another story unfolded. It is the story of a woman who was not charged, not accused by law enforcement, yet branded by millions as if she had blood on her hands. From the beginning, rumor
She's got something on her hands.
And speculation blurred into fact, creating a second narrative that had little to do with truth. What we have learned, looking back in 2025, is that public opinion often cares less about evidence than it does about a story that feels satisfying. And in this case, satisfaction came from blaming not only the man who confessed, but also the woman who happened to be standing near him. The record is unambiguous. There is no official evidence that Nichol Kessinger used illegal drugs or supplied them to Chris Watts.
I've never heard that, but
Toxicology confirmed that Shanann's alcohol readings came from decomposition, not poisoning. Investigators never found opioids, oxycodone, or anything to suggest substances played a role in the murder.
But she looked for a pharmacy to find out about opioids. Opioids.
FBI and CBI interviews show Nicole cooperating from the very first day, handing over her phone, answering difficult questions, and telling agents, "I would never hurt those little girls. Ever." The truth is in the files, but the rumors were louder, and that noise became her reality. The bigger picture is one of tragedy layered upon tragedy. At its center was Chris Watts, the man who admitted to killing his pregnant wife and daughters in August 2018. But as his guilt became undeniable, attention shifted to Nicole, who became collateral damage in the public search for another villain. Instead of being recognized as a witness who provided information, she was recast as a temptress, a manipulator, and a drug supplier, all roles written for her by strangers who never met her. The murders were Chris's alone, yet Nicole became a permanent character in the script of his crime, a reminder of how easily narratives can be twisted when amplified by digital platforms. And that is the moral we must
then don't go be sleeping with a married man.
sit with. Public perception is not always reality. Labels can haunt, and rumors can follow, long after the facts have been established. What happened to Nicole is a warning. When we rush to judgment, we risk condemning the wrong people, creating victims out of those who were never guilty of anything but being close to the wrong person at the wrong time. Her story reminds us that truth can be buried under clicks and whispers, and once a reputation is broken online, it is nearly impossible to restore. Labels can haunt.
As I say, if you put pictures online, you'll never get them back off.
Rumors can follow, and public perception can overshadow truth. Nicole's story is a warning. We must think before we believe, and think before we judge. Subscribe for more stories that explore the fine line between perception and reality in true crime.
So I definitely do think the channel is more sided with Nicole, but again, that's okay. They are entitled to their opinion. They're entitled to their word. I mean, as long as you do it respectfully, you can debate and still not agree and be civil. I definitely do think the channel presented its findings, its information. I don't believe that she was a addictor, but she could have been an alcohol addictor. We don't know. Again, when all this information came through way back when, 6 years, 4 or 5 years, 4 years, 3 years away from the case, a lot of information got spread. A lot of it, you want to find out if it's true. So then you look in the discovery and try to validate if it's real or not. But then it's kind of interesting that some of it you can't validate because it's been redacted. Why has it been redacted? Because somebody doesn't want you to see it. That's why this case continuously mind boggles everybody, is because there's so many answers or so many questions that can't be answered because it's been redacted, it's been removed, it's been hushed, it's been silenced, it's been buried. But again, I want to hear your thoughts. Please post them down below. If you enjoyed the channel, highly go over there, subscribe, comment, like, and share. Definitely to see your thoughts. But again, I'm glad that you guys came. Please take care, be safe. As always, keep nerding on, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.